I am proud to present the 2018 Davis, Gidwitz, and Glaser Young Leadership Award to Alex Turik. In 1989, he and his twin brother Nick and their parents were given 30 days to leave the Soviet Union. They moved to Israel, where they had to learn a new language and build a new life. After serving in the Israel Defense Forces, Alex and Nick moved to Chicago to attend DePaul University. Alex there became involved in our Hillel, which piqued his interest in learning more about Judaism and the Chicago Jewish community. Alex sought out other Russian-speaking Jewish friends and acquaintances, and he on his own brought them together for informal gatherings at a local coffee shop. From this beginning, Alex co-founded the Russian Jewish Leadership Forum Initiative, which today has evolved into JUF's Russian Jewish Division. He recognized the need, and because of his singular efforts, he has made a profound impact, helping integrate Russian Jews into the Chicagoland Jewish community. Alex joined the RJD Advisory Board in 2012, and he served as its chairman from 2014 to 2017. Under Alex's leadership, the RJD has grown to over 1,000 members. That includes Russian-speaking college students, business professionals, and families from all around the Chicago metropolitan area. In 2014, he and his brother Nick sponsored the 10th annual Shabbaton, a Shabbat weekend retreat for Russian Jews that attracted, at its first time, over 100 participants. In addition, Alex is the first Russian-speaking member of our JUF Board of Directors, and he serves on numerous committees in our community. He was a member of the planning committee for the recently held Russian Jewish Division Gala, which was held last November, during which he was recognized for serving the Russian-speaking Jewish community with passion and with purpose. Alex currently serves on the National Young Leadership Cabinet of the Jewish Federations of North America, representing our city along with several others so well, and he is a role model for the difference that young leaders can make. Please join me in congratulating Alex on receipt of this award.
Thank you all for coming here. Good morning to everybody. Dear Steve, Michael, my fellow JUF and RJD board members, and of course, Mazel Tov to all the honorees, Elizabeth, Irene, and Marisa. I mean, I'm honored to be part of this crowd and part of the four honorees today. I mean, how you guys do this, raising a family, doing all that stuff, beats me. So, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov. Given my life story, it's kind of surreal for me to stand here, and I'll give you a glimpse into this, in front of 100 people of Jewish United Fund annual meeting and receive an award for leadership in the Jewish community. Let me tell you, it's been a long and winding road with more unexpected twists and turns than an episode of Homeland. Here's my story. The story has never been told public, so I'm a little bit emotionally excited to tell this, so please bear with me. I was born in the former Soviet Union, and like many of my landsmen, my brother Nick and I knew nothing about our Jewish heritage. The truth, that in our case, was we didn't know we were Jewish. Our parents thought our lives would be easier if any mention of Judaism was erased from our past and made sure that our identity papers listed us as ethnically Russian. So that's how we spent our childhood. Nikita and I, as two Russian boys named Sasha and Nikita. However, my parents were determined to give us a better future, and unbeknown to me, they applied to leave for Israel in 1989. It was especially hard for my father to get permission because he was a scientist in a military plant. But in 1989, my family finally got the approval, and we made Aliyah. And that's when my parents told Nikita and I that we were Jewish. I was 9.5 years old when I found out. Luckily, I had some amazing role models that showed me what being Jewish meant. In Israel, I finished high school and served in the army. And during my last year in the IDF, I served in the Central Command in Jerusalem. And to help my family make ends meet, I worked a night shift in the Hotel Kikar Tzion. Maybe some of you know it. It's in the end of Ben Yehuda. One evening, I was introduced to an older gentleman named Harold. We chatted a bit about my family, schooling, and my army service. And then he asked me what I would like to be when I grow up. Without hesitation, I told him that I wanted to be a multimillionaire. A ludicrous idea for a kid whose parents could barely pay rent every month. He smiled and said, being wealthy isn't all that it's rumored to be. Then he invited me to have a dinner with him at Pizza Hut on Ben Yehuda Street. Back then, it used to be fine dining in Israel, which I happily accepted. I could never afford to have a dinner there. Harold ordered dinner and asked for waitress for a stack of napkins. Then something extraordinary happened. He wrote a complex math problem on one of the napkins and passed it on to me to solve. Amused and eager for a challenge, I solved the problem within seconds. Harold proceeded to fill napkin after napkin with math problems, which I proceeded to solve until the food arrived. As we ate, Harold asked if I planned to go to university after my army service. I said that I wished, but my parents could never afford this. Harold nodded. He finished his meal, threw a $50 bill on the table, stood up, and left. I chuckled to myself, finished my last piece of pizza, and went to work my night shift in a hotel. 3 weeks later, a FedEx envelope arrived for me at the hotel. I remember my mom calling me and saying, they called me from the hotel, you better go pick up this FedEx envelope. Before that, I never heard about FedEx. It's not very popular. With bewilderment, I opened this envelope, and inside, to this day, 20 years later, I remember there were 3 things. There was 10 $100 bills stapled together. There was an application to Harold Washington College, and it was a very short letter typed up on an old typewriter. It said, "Dear Alex, we had dinner together last month. I was impressed with your character and your math skills, and I'd like to invite you to attend the university in Chicago." It was signed, Kol Israel, Aravim Ze Lezeh. All Jewish people are responsible for one another. Harold Eisenberg. And that's how I came to Chicago, my brother and I. Harold became like a second father, a role model, a guide, a father, a mother, all at once. And this is how we experienced, in the most general way, the idea that all Jews were responsible for one another. No one else in my life embodied this idea better than my grandfather. That it is not a choice, but an obligation to help people who are less fortunate than we are. And this idea was embodied by my grandfather, Alexander Glickman, who actually I'm named after. My grandfather was a simple history teacher, reserved and even a bit shy, but his influence and generosity were legendary in his hometown of Dnipropetrovsk in Ukraine. It's called Yekaterinoslav, some of you know. Nick and I saw how people visited my grandfather from morning to evening, asking for help, finding a job, securing a driver's license, getting his son into university, or trying to work out shalom bayis issues between husband and wife. He never refused to see anyone. Most of the time, he just listened to people. When he offered advice, it was something warm and insightful, often with a soft chuckle and joke. I wondered why he allowed people to come by at all hours, even though it was exhausting and aggravated my grandmother very much. Like Harold, My grandfather Alexander showed me that the measure of a person is his willingness to help others, to demonstrate and to be a part of a community. This was a lesson I never forgot. And that I saw exemplified by many mentors, many of whom who sit here today, who've been unbelievably generous with their professional and personal wisdom. There's so many people to thank, so I'm just going to name a few. David Schwab, who gave me my first real job and internship out of DePaul University. Wendy Berger and Joe Ament, who mentored me and taking enormous amount of time to teach me lessons from their lives and their careers. Harvey Burnett, David Brown, Michael Zaransky, who got me involved with JUF and shared their wisdom from decades-long careers. Eric Rothner, who encouraged me to ramp up my involvement since I was elected to the JUF board. And of course, Steve Nassiter, who provided invaluable advice on many personal and community matters. The underlying theme of my life has been the impact of chesed, of love and kindness of other Jews who sacrificed and helped me. It's what Jewish community and Jewish people do. Kol Israel arevim ze lezeh. 30 years ago, this community demanded from the Soviet Union dictatorship, let my people go. And 30 years later, we're answering the call. It is our time to pay forward. I wanted to say special thanks to Zhenya Kovelman, John Lowenstein, Karen Peretz, with whom the Russian Jewish division growth in recent years would not have been possible, and to RJD first chairman, Vlad Edelman, whose boundless energy, love of Jewish community, and enthusiasm set the tone for the organization we went on to build. Finally, I want to thank my family, my twin brother, and my womb mate, Nikita, for all your help and support. And of course, I wouldn't be standing here in front of you without the love, wisdom, and support of my amazing wife, Gabby, who encourages me to go out and get involved with the community. Thank you, mi amor. And of course, my two kids are here. I'm very proud and happy they're here. Thank you, Naomi Nadi. We're going to be eating soon, don't worry. I am blessed and humbled to be here in front of you, and I received this award on behalf of my Jewish fellow of RJD board, members of RJD board, JUF board, and the Chicago Russian Jewish community. Thank you for everything. I'm humbled and honored to be here.